All right, we're back with another episode today. A little bit of a sleepy day today, at least here in Nevada. I want to thank the sponsors. Head over to www.johnbartoloshow.com. Go check out all the sponsors. On that homepage, there's a huge list of sponsors that support the show. I ask all you guys listening to take a minute to go check some of them out. Today, I want to give special thanks to Gallo Technologies. If you're building a safe room, a panic room that you want to hang guns in, or just want some really cool panels or pegboard to hang your tools, check out Gallo Technologies. Gallo Tech has been a huge supporter of the show since day one. I want to thank Rhino Metals. Rhino Metals is a huge supporter of the show. I can't thank them enough. Love my office with all my Rhino Metal products. And I want to thank Safari Club International because today's guest is the one and only, the president, the Pope of Safari Club International. What's going on, Laird? Listen, you and I have brushed paths in so many ways, but we haven't connected. But I'm so excited to have you on because we're in such an interesting time for not only preppers, hunters, but outdoors enthusiasts because it's really all you can do right now, right?
I got to tell you, John, first of all, thanks for having me on.
Anytime.
Good to visit with you. You're a hard man to catch up with. I don't know what's up with that. I know you're busy, but hunting and the outdoors in general right now is really going gangbusters. As people realize, hey, I can't be cooped up in this house for 2 and 3 and 4 months. Although I do realize I need to practice social distancing and things of that nature. That doesn't mean I can't go out for a hike. I can't go out during this time of the year and go turkey hunting. I can't go fishing, any of those kind of outdoor activities. And, we're encouraging all that to happen, whether it's through
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Secretary Barnhart and the Department of Interior opening up more federal lands to hunters and fishermen and women out there than it is to just spreading the message about what we need to do in order to get people more involved with hunting and fishing.
I love it. I think it's just such a great message to pump right now. And, you have your extremes in any industry. So I've been to Safari Club, of course, last time I was there myself, Brendan Burns, Donnie, we walked around, we had some fun. I always enjoy those shows. You get such an eclectic group, but you guys tend to have some of the most extreme swings. At the Safari Club, you have some really great packages. People are there buying these gorgeous hunts and these tags and everything else. And then you have the other side of it, which is like the preppers. They're like the people under the stairs, and we love them all equally. You have such huge swings of the type of hunter or outdoorsman around your industry, because I know SCI is really unique because it can encompass so many different things. And when you start to go talk about the outdoors, you can go down a rabbit hole of fun stuff. And now there's such a resurgence in it because what else are you going to do right now? Everybody's kind of getting outside a little bit. People have to stay in, and when we use the term stay in, socially prudent in terms of what they do. But people can go out on hikes. People are going to parks now. People are walking. People are getting arrested, Laird, for going out on the beach and surfing.
That's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
We do have an eclectic group of members, and we have an eclectic group of hunters worldwide that are out there. And that's what makes it all great.
Yeah.
You really don't want to have a whole bunch of people just like you because it'd be a little boring, you being yourself, not you being you, John. So
I'm boring.
I don't think anybody can ever call you boring. That's for sure.
Mr. Excitement over here.
But I got to tell you, SCI is not a single species organization or a single continent-focused organization. So, no matter what, where, how, or when you hunt, SCI is there to defend your hunting and defend all that there is that surrounds hunting. And that's the key to SCI. And our convention every year is going to be in Vegas the next 2 years. This year is going to be, or 2020, the next one coming up, is going to be the 50th anniversary of the founding of SCI, founded in 1971 out in California. And then the 2022 is also going to be in Vegas, and it is going to be the 50th convention that we've had. So we've got 2 50 back-to-back conventions. And as you've been, and you realize this firsthand, there's no way to walk the whole show in the 4 days that it's open. So, you can go up and down every single aisle. There's no way to make it up and down in the 4 days. That's how many, exhibitors you've got. That's all the stuff that's there. It's just an incredible experience all the way around, whether it's looking at taxidermy, whether it's talking about hunting animals that, you've only dreamed of, or going back and hunting animals that you've hunted a half a dozen times. So it's got something for everybody.
What's the craziest thing you've ever seen auctioned at one of these deals? Because I know the auctions are legendary.
Oh, it's the places I didn't even realize there were. It's like, wait a minute, where's my map? Where is this place again? It's some of the stuff that's out there that, conservation is what this is all about. And it's on the ground conservation and management projects that SCI and SCIF, our foundation, is involved in. I mean, we've had conservation projects and management projects in over 30 countries and, in all 4 continents going on out there. So there's always something going on with regard to hunting, and these permits and auction tags and licenses in a lot of cases is what the conservation groups in those particular countries use to further enhance the survival of the species. And there's a lot of great stories like the markhor in Pakistan, and we could go into all the African animals that have been saved because of conservation. And the North American conservation model itself is the most successful one that's out there, and that's the model for everybody else to use. So it's a great story all the way around.
Yeah, I had Kendall Jones on, and she broke down a little bit of where some of the money goes with how this all kind of breaks down. And she said what people don't understand is you have to pay for protecting these animals, protecting maybe them from poacher. Like she does a lot of African hunts, so there's a lot of that goes on because they want to maintain the economic cycle, So as far as hunting, predatory cycle. So, the thing with SCI I love is not only that it's an eclectic group, but I can honestly tell you, Laird, because I don't have to tell you. I know you can't say it, and I said the same thing to Ben on air. The NRA show, the NSSF show, and I love those guys. Larry, I love you. Jason, I love you. But those shows are like, who's the biggest swinging you-know-what in the room? And your show, the guard is down. It's a lot of fun to just walk around and just hobnob. So selfishly, I think you get the best show. Selfishly, I think.
Well, I would tend to agree with you, and I appreciate that. But you know what? The thing about our show is that there's so many famous people, whether they're actors, whether they're athletes, whether they're individuals that own their own businesses, from NASCAR drivers to owners and everything in between, that are walking the aisles. I mean, there's been times when, my wife said, was that such and such that just passed us that gave you a nod? And I said, yeah. And she's like, holy moly, because you don't know who's going to be there. This is
I saw Adam Vinatieri there.
Yeah.
So Adam was there, and I've had 2 of his former teammates on the show, and I was like, what the hell is he doing here? He's got a thing. So we went down and we saw him, but I didn't realize he had a ranch because I'm not in the trenches every year. His booth was unassuming. It was actually happened to be near the bathroom. He doesn't have this big, crazy booth, but it was crazy, right?
Yeah. It's very much an unassuming group. Somebody did a study one time that said if you took all the people that were at the banquet and their net worth, they would be like the 9th wealthiest country in the world, all in that one banquet room. And you would never imagine that walking around the convention, because these are all people that are very unassuming, and they're there for the good of the order. I mean, they're there for the cause, and that is protecting hunting worldwide and making sure things happen. And they're a big part of that. And, the way that it's not maybe fashionably unique in some senses, because a lot of hunters out there don't want others to know that they do hunt. Unlike me, if you were to look at my Facebook page or look at my trophy room, my wife has been very very accommodating by letting it turn into a trophy house, because we've got like the North American room in one area and the fish room in another and the bird room in another, Africa room, the trophy room. So it's just all kind of things. So outside of myself, there's a lot of people that don't want others to know, for whatever reason, that they're not big hunters, but they love to come to the convention. They love to get involved with the local banquets and the local chapters, and they help by being a member and donating and all of that. So they understand what we do, protecting the right to hunt, and they want to be involved. They just, in some cases, don't want to make it a public issue. But you've got some others that are out there that are like, hey, I don't care. I hunt. Tell everybody. Make it known.
Does it bother you? that some people keep it a secret?
It does.
It's a sticking point.
You know, hey, each to their own. I'm not going to tell people what to do or how to go about living their lives, this, that, and the other. But if you believe in something and you do something, then don't shy away from it.
Right.
If you're a baseball fan, if you're an Atlanta Falcons baseball fan, then you're wearing Atlanta Falcons caps and shirts, and you're going to games, and you're doing all that kind of good stuff. You don't have a problem debating the Cubs fan or debating a Yankees fan or this, that, and the other. You take it out. If you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, you know, you're supporting those teams and supporting what's going on. Why can't you do that for hunting? And a lot of people are concerned about the blowback that comes in their careers and things of that nature when it goes to hunting. And that's just not right. They shouldn't have to hide behind that or be concerned about that. They should be proud of what they do. It's our heritage. We've been doing it since we were cavemen. You can just go look at some of the hydrographics that are on the walls of these caves, and we're hunting. That's what we are. We're hunters.
Right. So, it's a tough one because you know, I understand all sides of it. Like, I can understand on social media why people don't put some stuff out there. I don't put a lot of my, you know, stuff I do at jiu-jitsu or MMA stuff, anything like that, you know, through the years, because I'm not good at it. Like, I think I suck, and I'm just like, I don't go there to take a camera and take photos. You know, it's not really my bag, even though I've done it for a bit now. So I understand that. I guess maybe what would frustrate me is more the denial, right? Yeah. And, you know, if people were in denial about it, I think the SCI, you know, see, I'm going to be critical, Laird, for a second, because I can't give you. I told Larry from NSSF when he was on the same thing. I think we all can do a better job, and I think you know, you got the right guys in place now to kind of help do that, of making it cool or fashionable to say that you hunt. And you're seeing now with shooting, right? I'll draw a parallel. Despite any, you know, thing associated with the stigmas of shooting, right? And there's plenty. There's piles. That list is a mile long. It's become, under this administration, a little more fashionable to shoot. And we don't have the president to thank for that, so, you know, Donnie, don't get too excited. He's great. He's the conduit. But really, what we've seen with people like Keanu Reeves coming on and training and publicizing it and putting that out there, it glamorizes it, right? You have Halle Berry shooting, all these different people getting into the genre, getting into the sport. And Demi Lovato's been noted for training and shooting and all that. And and this is something that the show explores here, Laird. And we explore the differences in the marriage between people who do MMA, jiu-jitsu. I've been preaching this for a very long time. That's why it's not shocking for me to see Dana White on Air Force One with the president, because these are all extensions of defense of what we call being capable. Hunters are capable people, okay? They can provide for themselves. I think you got the right crew now, and I think doing some things like podcasting, putting more media out there, making it okay to say, yeah, you know what? I went out last night. I went on a hog hunt, and it was fucking awesome. I had some fun, you know. Or, you know, hog hunt's hardly a hunt; it's more extermination. But, you know, saying I went out and I did some fishing, or I did this, it becomes an okay thing to do. You know, you got to make it cool at the end of the day.
Yeah, and that's what, you know, a lot of things about Safari Club has never gotten out to the public, and you know. Safari just means a journey, and it doesn't matter if that journey is from one state to the next, or to Mexico or Canada across the borders, or to Europe or Africa across the pond. It is about the journey and going on that journey to hunt or fish, and that's the key. I mean, you got to realize since 2000, Safari Club International has, you know, donated specifically to conservation $60 million. And 80% of that is in North America. And most people don't realize that. And when they get involved in Safari Club and they start, you know, looking under the covers and going, what all do they do? They go, wait a minute. You know, if you're a gun owner, you should belong to NRA. I'm a life member of NRA, and they're great people over there. And if you're a hunter, you should belong to SCI. Because at the end of the day, we are the ones that are, you know, boots on the ground defending the right to hunt against bills and anything else that's out there. I mean, most people don't realize that we have an advocacy office in D.C. where we've got in-house attorneys and in-house lobbyists that are, only 2 blocks from the Capitol and from Congress, that we can go and say, hey, we need to talk to this congressman or this senator or their staff and say, well, this is what we, feel about a bill, or this is what we think that should happen, and this, that, and the other. Sometimes they listen to us, sometimes they don't. They're great people. But at the end of the day, we're there on the street every single day fighting for the rights of hunters and fishermen. And most people don't realize that. I don't know why they don't realize it. Somebody's got to defend them, but we're the ones that are doing that. And not only that, we got another cadre of lawyers that are on retainer and another whole group of lobbyists that are on retainer that work with us and do fantastic jobs, for us on the Hill as well. So, once you start really looking at what SCI does, you're like, holy smokes.
Listen, I did a whole episode with Jason we met from NRA. And Jason and Jason and I are friends. We walked your show together. I consider him a friend.
Great
I can text him now. But I was on his ass. I was all over him. And I know that doesn't – because, listen, some things had to be answered. Some questions had to be answered. And he came right out, and I give him all the credit in the world. And he tackled everything. And I said to him, now that you've made your point, I'm willing to eat shit. You made your point. But I want you to tell everybody what you're doing that nobody sees. And he broke it all down. And after we talked, and he goes, that was awesome, because he felt like he was able to get stuff off his chest while at the same time. And we did the same thing with Larry. I screamed at Larry, go listen to the podcast with the NSSF. And Larry after was like, you just got to get some things off your chest. Now, I'll be critical of you guys for a second. You know why people don't know what you do? Because before you brought in the right team, your media team sucked. They weren't putting it out there the right way. They weren't getting the word out. Knowing what you guys do, you, the NRA, the NSSF, the USCCA, is so critical. If I'm in that room, honestly, Laird, I'm constantly poring over, are we getting the message out there of what we're doing in the communities? We need more blogs. We need more videos. Get Chip up there in front of the microphone every day. Every day. Tell them what you're working on. That's important. That's critical. And I do believe between Ben, Chip, some of the guys, you got the right guys now to do it. It's just putting it all together. I mean, COVID's a speed bump along the way. It's hard to get together and game plan a little bit. But, it's got to be done. You know what I'm saying? And that's the truth. I mean, we're coming out of an era. What people don't realize is we're coming out of an era, late 90s, early 2000s, middle management guys, that they weren't savvy with streaming, and technology the last 15 years has grown such leaps and bounds. I know people, and I know you know them too in the firearms industry, they came from that old advertising background. They can't get a job because the industry's passed them by, Laird. And you need guys that are into these different spaces, these different mediums. And if you're not getting the word out of what you're doing, that's the first failure of marketing. I have, endless amounts of people from the gun industry on the show. And you know what? I always tell them the same thing all the time. Marketing departments are dead in the water, and it's time for a change. And all bad marketing departments deteriorate down to mag dumps in a desert. The minute your marketing plan becomes a mag dump in the desert, it's over. Pack it up.
Yeah.
You got to change it. So you now today in this, listen, Joe Rogan just got $100 million to go to Spotify. He commands a large audience. $100 million.
Yeah.
So, some of these entities need to realize you have multiple audio devices in your home, right? Your Apple Watch, your cell phone, your TV is all audio. You have to have audio. You have to have video. You have to have streaming. I was standing with your guys watching Donnie and Kim speak, and the first thing I said is, why doesn't someone set a camera up and stream this? And everybody looked at me like I invented the wheel. I'm like, you got the president's son here and you got Kim here. Like, why,
Yeah. And he, whether you like Trump or Junior or Kim or whoever, that's irrelevant as it relates to the cause. Yeah. They are good for the cause. And, both of those individuals are good people, as we say in the South. I mean, whether you like their politics or not, or their dad or whatever the case may be, it doesn't matter. They're good for the cause. And they're good people. And it was a pleasure for me to get to associate with them during the convention and walking around and making sure they had a good time. But, at the end of the day, they're doing great things for hunting and fishing, and we need to continue to use them. And I hope they do continue to wrap their hands around SCI even further and walk along with us shoulder to shoulder, because I think they're an
pivotal.
asset.
Well, I mean, I've been vocal about it on this show. You might not know this, what's coming, but you know, and I've said it too. I've said it, Kim and I, Donnie, we've all talked about it. When Barnhart's done, how do we get Donnie and his dad to sit down and how do we get him to become Secretary of Interior? That's the $1 million question. That's the $1 million question.
Yeah.
You know, I
think that it's definitely for career politicians, and I'm not sure, you know, Junior would want to do something like that.
I know he wouldn't. I know he wouldn't, and you know he wouldn't. But it doesn't. And listen, I'll come out and say it all right on air. Doesn't pay a whole lot of money.
No,
he doesn't need to do it. But I'll stay on this microphone and say all day he's got the record to do it. There's no question. He's an outdoorsman. He's traveled and visited more states than most people will ever travel to. He's traveled and visited more states and hunted in more states than most people do on purpose, by accident.
Well, he's hunted all over the world, too. That's what a lot of people don't realize. I mean, you hear about all the stuff that comes out from the keyboard warriors that are living in their mom and dad's basement.
I don't know.
You know?
Yeah, no, I totally understand. But I think Laird, I think that would be a tough one to shoot holes in. I'll tell you why. You and I both know. Doesn't pay a whole lot of money. He doesn't need the political clout. It doesn't give him anything. He would do it for the love of the game. And he would be the right guy who could galvanize the whole thing. And sure. I'm trying to get him to do it. It's just whether or not he will is another story. Because of all the things you said, you're absolutely right. It's whether or not
he's got to get approved by Congress and all that kind of good stuff. That could be nasty.
Yeah, but I think he would. Because he has the record. He has the record. You know, at the end of the day, I said this to who the hell was I talking to? I think it was Bernsey from KUIU. I said, you know, Bobby Kennedy was Attorney General. That's an insanely high profile position. So I just don't see politically the ability to shoot holes in Donnie at that position. And essentially most of the guys that are in it, they stay in it 2, maybe 3 years at best. You know, it'd be something maybe towards the end of his dad's second term, I'd love to see him tackle or see him take on and kind of bring all these entities together. But that's my selfish want. And Donnie, if you're listening, and I know you might, I love you and I hope you do go after it. I hope you do, because you deserve it. But you know, whether or not you do is up to you. I know we'd be rooting for you, but it takes the right kind of guy to bring it all together. Not that Barnhart's done everyone's doing a great job. It's just, you know, it'd be great to see him go after that position at some point. My selfish one.
Secretary Barnhart's done a fantastic job. I don't think many people realize how good he's done. You know, so is Secretary Perdue. Those are two gentlemen that are big outdoors people that love to hunt and fish, and they have done a lot of great things for our industry, and they don't get enough credit for it, both Secretary Barnhart and Secretary Perdue. And I want to make sure that they get that credit where it's there. And
I always try to be insanely honest, and I know you know this. Nobody does that job for the money.
No.
It pays $50,000, $160,000 a year. It's not a hype. It's not this like insane paycheck. It's not the $10 million a year Hunter Biden was getting or whatever. It's nothing like that. And it's not a job you do because you're getting a high profile. I mean, unless you're really in the community, you don't know who that person is. And I think Secretary Barnhart would agree, you know, whenever he kind of burns out from it or moves on or goes to the next thing, Donnie would bring a certain awareness to the cause too. Along with, you know the term, any publicity is good publicity. Even having a hearing for the Secretary of Interior. When was the last time you could tell me we had an insane Senate confirmation hearing around the Secretary of Interior position?
Yeah. Yeah.
That in and of itself would be laughable, you know, because it would bring so much awareness. And it would constantly give you guys the podium and folks the podium to speak. So, again, I don't want to spend the whole show on that, but that's my selfish want, you know?
No, I hear you. Hey, you know, SCI is involved in all that kind of good stuff. I mean, since 2000, both SCI and SCIF have spent, $485 million on policy advocacy dealing with stuff there on Capitol Hill. I mean, Aurelia Skipwith is another great, name and face that's come up through the ranks that's doing a good job for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife as the new director there. And we're very proud of what she's doing and the changes that she's making, working actually under Secretary Barnard. But, I mean, Aurelia's doing, fantastic. And she's doing a lot for the industry and a lot from hunters because she understands how that works. I mean, but at the end of the day, you've got to have an organization, and that is SCI, that is defending hunting and what's all out there. As I mentioned earlier, we're not a single species organization. We're not a single continent organization. We've got attorneys and lobbyists, both internally and, from our consultants that are sitting there defending the right to hunt because there's not a lot of pro-hunters in the organization. You might have them at the top, but all the undercurrent that some of the, other individuals within an organization cause create damage as it relates to delays in permitting and delays in bills, or they try to slip something in at the last minute, and we've got to watch all that kind of stuff because if we're not watching it, nobody else is.
I agree. What you guys do is tremendously unseen. And that's why I keep coming back to how important. I stress this with people because, again, I came from this background in marketing, brand development, how important it is to keep getting the message out there of what you're doing that isn't seen. It's not exciting to publicize the lawsuits, the legal stuff. You have to get out there. Actually, I'll give USCCA credit. NSSF credit rather. They USCCA. They do a good job getting a lot of their unseen actions out there. NRA's done a okay job, putting Jason's work out there. They could do better, but getting that out there is really important. It's really important to constantly give a brief. Hey, this week we're working on this, we're working on that, because it's exhaustive. And I actually asked Jason the question. I'll ask you the same one. How do you know what battles to fight? Because you only have so much budget and you only have so much resources. How do you know what battles to fight?
Well, I mean, that's a great question because we get challenged a lot of times to fight for battles that are not relating to hunting. So, there's scenarios like in Europe where they've got gun laws that are trying to pass through their, Congress or whatever you want to call it, here to their congressional group. And, people are going, well, we're not involved with guns in Europe. So they turn to us and they go, hey, will you help us out? And we go, well, we have to, because if we don't, nobody is. And the same thing for hunting in North America. We've got to figure out exactly what's going on and how we can make things better by sponsoring a bill or helping a bill get through or fighting in court a bill that's wrong for hunters. But it's all going to relate to hunting. What we can do. And it's not just in the United States, it's worldwide because we've got a number of traveling hunters that are traveling all over the world to hunt. So we just can't be, like I said, U.S. specific. We have to fight around the world. And we just opened up a new European committee, and we've got 2 new employees over there in Europe now that are SCI employees that are fighting the fight for our European members and all that they do there. And there's a lot of good outfitter associations, whether it's FASA or custodians down in South Africa, or the Zim Hunters Association, and a few others that are out there that are doing a great job representing their members, whether they're professional hunters or whether they're the actual outfitters themselves in these different countries worldwide. BASE is a partner of ours in Europe. BASE is a big partner of ours over there in Europe, and we're lucky to work with them and vice versa. So we've done great work together. But to answer your question, it's got to be about hunting and how it affects hunting as to what we're going to defend and how we're going to go about defending it.
Yeah, it's hard to pick and choose. It's you rack your brain about it, especially as it pertains to this and especially shooting laws. It's hard to fight all the battles because, you look at states like New Jersey, California, Virginia, obviously they're a mess. And it's how do you fight those fights?
It's kind of like same type of NRA mentality. If they take one thing, it's going to be one thing today. It's going to be something else tomorrow. The same thing on hunting. They take away black bear hunting today. What's going to be tomorrow? What's going to be the day after that? So you've got to make sure that you're protecting hunting, no matter what the cause. In a lot of cases, so that they protect other species down the road. Now, I will say this: there's a situation where you've got to protect hunting for the as a conservation tool to protect the species in general. Most people, we talked about this a little earlier. If it pays, it stays. And if you say, "Oh, we're going to shut down hunting for elephants," then that does damage to the elephants, because all of a sudden there's no revenue generated to protect those elephants. And you think, wait a minute, this is kind of odd that you would hunt something in order to protect it. But that's what happens. They are charging fees to hunt, let's say, elephants. And, those fees are also providing anti-poaching revenue to stop anti-poaching of elephants for their ivory, based on the fact that you've had hunters pay to hunt elephants. And then it's also building wells out there, water wells, in order to give them water and things of that nature. And most people also don't realize, because they've got this far-flung idea about elephants of the past, but there's these countries out there that in Africa that have got a carrying capacity of 3,500 elephants. That's 3,500 elephants. And they've got 40,000 confirmed elephants in that country. But you've got a carrying capacity of 3,500. What is that doing to the fauna and flora? What is it doing to the villagers that are out there? And that's kind of how Botswana reopened hunting in Botswana, is that you had the locals going, they're damaging our crops, they're killing our villagers, we're not making any revenue off of these animals that are just completely ruining, the rural communities. And the president got elected based on the fact that the rural communities went out and voted and said, you got to open up hunting. They did. And, if you look at Kenya, which has been an absolute disaster because they've shut hunting down in Kenya, which used to be a fantastic place to hunt. Kenya is just a disaster, and it's an embarrassment for those people that live in Kenya and the decimation it's done to their wildlife and all of that, all because they had a bunch of anti-hunters that came in there and talked others into shutting down hunting, and there's no value for those animals. They've turned it into croplands. They've had human-animal encroachment issues, and they get rid of the animals. And, they don't do it, and very insanely. They poison them, or they just decimate them any way that they can, and there's nothing there. And they go, oh, we've got this zoo over here. That's not the same as it was. It used to have lions running everywhere, elephants running everywhere, gazelles, antelopes, and everything else. Now there's nothing. It's all because they said, oh, we're going to stop hunting. Because guess what? If it pays, it stays. And instead of that animal being worth something to a farmer, he can now get rid of it and then plant his tea crop or his coffee crop or his cotton crop, whatever the case may be, and not have it decimated by animals eating it. So really a disaster in Kenya, an embarrassment to those involved. So I feel sorry for it.
Does it shock you at all that in recent years zoos and aquariums have fallen out of favor?
It does shock me because there's a lot, I think there's an opportunity to go out and see the animals, themselves, instead of looking at it on a computer from your home. You can actually get out, get some fresh air, go, tour a zoo, and most of them have aquariums and things of that nature. I don't understand the fact that people are all wanting to stay in, and I think that's going to be a resurgence for hunting and the hunting industry going forward after this, COVID-19 issue, is that people are going to want to start going outside. They're not going to want to be in cramped places anymore. I don't think it's going to be, this is my personal opinion, I don't think it's going to be as fashionable to live in New York because it's just so crowded, overcrowded. People are going to want to get back to nature and get back to their roots and things of that nature. So that might be something that comes out of this whole coronavirus scenario.
Yeah, but that's selfishly, that's gonna suck for us. The secret will be, but but no, it's a good thing. Listen, anytime you can get people to reexamine their strategy as it pertains to getting outside, participating in nature, and anything like that. I think that's a good thing. I think that has to be done because it creates a sense of community. There's something that comes along with it. It's just a lot of fun to get out there with a crew. Everybody, what people don't realize looking at it from the outside, Laird, this is the big thing. It's not about the hunt that you're on. It's the guys and gals in the cabin, hanging out, spending the time together. It's the community that comes along with that. It's a lot of fun. And you enjoy yourself. It's like I explained to people about FFLs. FFLs are mostly family-owned businesses, very tightly held. It's kind of like one of the last great family-owned businesses in the country are little gun shops. And they're amazing to go into and hang out. Going on a hunt, you might never go out and actually track the animal or anything. You might hang in the cabin. I've gone on ski trips. I don't ski. I'm 245 pounds. I'm not getting on anything that goes faster than me. So, it's the sense of just hanging out, in the cabin, spending some time with people. That's part of the fun too. That's the enjoyable experience. And hopefully you're right. And more people kind of get into it from that perspective.
Well, especially if you've got kids. I mean, think of it that way. I had the most fun when I was hunting with my dad. And I hope that my kids will remember our outings, whether it was local, somewhere within all of the U.S. or North America, or even internationally, where I've taken my kids already internationally. But it's memories. And that's the key. You create memories for life. There's an old saying, you don't collect items, you collect memories. And that's key to a lot of people nowadays. During this crisis is to remember the memories. I mean, my wife's going through our old photos right now because she's trying to figure out something to do, I think. But it's really an opportunity for her to look at those photos and say, okay, where was this? What do we do? What's going on? I'm making this, photo album. And then the kids come home and they're like, oh, this is cool. I forgot about this, that, and the other. So it's, it's an opportunity to make memories, and that's a big part of our family and history going forward.
Yeah, it's an amazing journey, especially, when you're able to have those experiences. You can't, the term I use all the time is you can't buy back time, and having that opportunity to spend the time and do those things, you create endless amounts of memories, and that's what makes it a lot of fun. Now, where does hunting go from here with COVID? Like, how do you see it playing out personally, this whole scenario as the summer turns into the fall? We all have our speculation, right? So how do you see it playing out?
Well, I think you're going to get more people out in the field for a couple reasons outside of what we may think. And that is, we talked earlier about just getting out and getting some fresh air and getting back to nature and things. That I think the real reason why people are going to get out is we're going to have a resurgence of the field to fork process. And that is people going, you know what? There were times when I wanted to have a steak or I wanted to do this, that, or the other, and the grocery stores were out of them. I mean, Wendy's had 1,000 stores that didn't have any meat in order to sell hamburgers. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to realize I can go deer hunting, I can go elk hunting, I can go moose hunting, I can go duck hunting, I can go turkey hunting, and I can take that meat and I can process it, whether you process it yourself or you send it to a processor, and you're going to have your freezer full of meat. Yeah. I think there's a lot of people that are going to say the sustainable use, here we've got, food that is free of any chemicals, free of any kind of organic, anything. It is truly fat-free and ready to eat right there organically from the field to my table. And I think there could be a big resurgence in that going forward, because I think that that's going to be a big part of it. I mean, the organic part of it is going to be huge. It's hormone free. It's, that type of thing. Organic. Everybody's talking about organic. Well, how can deer, elk, ducks, turkeys, quail, anything be more organic than that?
Yeah,
so I think there's going to be a lot of that.
I'll let this cat out of the bag. I think you're right, and I'll let this cat out of the bag. I was on the phone with Earth Roamer the other day. I don't want to give this away because they're going to be doing the show. They said they literally can't make them fast enough. And if you haven't checked out an Earth Roamer, you guys, it's like the ultimate off-road vehicle. And if that market's exploding, it tells me, I look at a lot of key economic indicators, like usually if gas tubes are selling, I know the AR market's fixed to blow up. So I try to explain to people, you have this market of people that want to be, I used the term earlier, capable. They want to be self-sustaining. When you start to see that market explode, especially at the high levels, that's encouraging, super encouraging news. And I think it's going to continue to blow up, and I think it's going to continue to grow because people don't want to be reliant. I mean, we saw that in the last 2 months of gun sales. They don't want to depend on other people. And we're going to reach a point, Laird, where even if you were kind of on the fence about this, you're going to say, you know what? I have to at least be capable, be able to put something on my table, like you said, farm to fork, a field to fork. I have to be able to do this. I can't always be relying on a restaurant or takeout or whatever it is. And I could tell you right now, one thing I looked at, I went to 2 Home Depots, and I called one of my friends at GE and I asked how many people were buying refrigerators, because that's an indicator to me too. And he said, I cannot tell you, one of my buddies who works actually for Lowe's, a competitor of Home Depot, he said the amount of people that have come in and said they wanted a secondary fridge or freezer for their garage or for their basement was insane through this COVID. That's the stuff that gets people's brain going, you know what I mean? And wanting to be self-sufficient. Okay, now I got to stock that, right? How am I doing that? So,
well, every place is different. In the South, where I live, hunting camps and renting or leasing land is more prevalent than out west, where you're using BLM property and it's open to the public and all that kind of good stuff. There is a resurgence down here of, hey, do you know somebody that's got an opportunity to join their hunting club or a membership available to join a hunting club, this, that, and the other? There are people coming out of the woodwork looking for this type of opportunities now, because I think that they're going, okay, I'm going to go deer hunting and I'm going to kill a couple of deer and I'm going to get them processed and I'm going to fill my freezer with, this food going forward. And as SCI does the thing with Hunters for the Hungry, and it's big for a lot of our members to donate to Hunters for the Hungry. And SCI is very proud of that program as well. So very interesting.
Yeah, there's so much opportunity. And I think as time marches on, this COVID-19 is going to force a lot of people, as you said earlier, to do some soul searching, to do some digging. And I think it creates so many opportunities for you guys to push the narrative of getting outside, create your own social distance. There's so many themes there that you guys can play into and kind of start to shake those bushes a little bit. I think, getting people talking, getting people on shows like you're doing with the Tag Soup podcast is another conduit and another gateway, drug towards getting outside and participating. And to anybody listening, if you haven't had the opportunity to go to an SCI show, there's a tremendous one in Dallas. I know it flip-flops. I think we're in Vegas for 2 years coming up. There's some great opportunities to go walk these shows. They're amazing. And as I said earlier, I alluded to, if you ever get in some of these rooms or poke your head in, you see some of these auctions and some of these things, the prizes, things they're putting out there, they're amazing. And it all goes towards conservation. It's an amazing opportunity to get out there and start to understand it a little bit better. And one of the things, without making it too political, even though there's a political end to all these organizations, I feel, and I've been critical of this in the gun industry, people don't understand, is they don't take the time to learn, Laird. The people that are anti-hunting or anti-this or anti-that, they don't take the time to learn. And we see that over and over again, especially in the gun industry, because these guys get up there in front of a microphone. They don't even know what they're talking about. They don't even know what they're saying. And I've had multiple congressmen on, multiple representatives, multiple people, local and national. And, I said it to Greg Stube, big hunter, Florida congressman. I said, Greg, they don't even know what they're talking about. And he goes, you're right. They don't even know what they're saying. Like, so they don't take the time to learn. And that's one of the biggest frustrating things. It's like, you know, if you're going to bash something, at least take a moment to learn something about it. You know, walk the floor, meet the people, shake the hands. And I guarantee if you do, it'll change your thought process just a bit and you'll start to understand it. Maybe not like it, but understand it.
Yeah, and, you know, they can go to our website at www.safariclub.org and, you know, look around the website. They can join if they're not already a member and look at all that Safari Club is doing, not only here in the United States, but worldwide. I think it's very worth their while to get educated and find out exactly what's going on, not just for those that are in the forefront of the industry or think they are trying to get educated, but those that are there at home during these times, during this COVID-19, to find out exactly what's happening and who you need to get along to, as they say down here, and who, you know, to support.
Now, I'll put you on the spot. What's your favorite venue to do SCI, do the show in?
The one that we're going to. Kind of like the same question gets asked of me all the time. What's your most famous or favorite hunting trip? And, you know, I've hunted all over the world chasing this World Hunting Award that I've, you know, we're almost there. And they're like, was it, you know, lion? Was it deer? Was it sheep? What is it? And my response is always
the next one.
The next one. That's the most fun one. And that's the same thing for the convention. What's the most fun one? Even though, you know, I still say that my most favorite thing to hunt is DDT. And everybody goes, DDT? And I go, yeah, deer, ducks, and turkeys. So, you know, I'm from born and raised in Mississippi, and that's what we hunted was deer, ducks, and turkeys. And that's my favorite, no matter if I'm chasing some kind of sheep on the other side of the world, or if I'm trying to chase a goat or something down in Africa, it's still coming back home to DDT, and that's a big thing for me.
Yeah, you know, I give the same answer all the time to a lot of things because it's true. You know, if you love what you're doing, it's always the next one. Dallas puts a great show on. I'm looking forward to it swinging back to Vegas. You know, I would selfishly like to see more beef jerky tables. Because I'm one donut away from being morbidly obese. I'd like to see some of these different types of things. So selfishly, I tell you, Laird, please talk to your team. Tell them if someone comes to them with food and wants to put. I know the venues hate that because they want to sell the snacks, but you know we got to get some jerky stands, some pickle barrels, and because along the way, walking these great shows, you need snacks. You know.
I got to tell you, the problem that we got is that we don't have enough room for the exhibitors that want to get into our show as it is. So, you know, we're going, okay, do we want to get another outfitter in here from somewhere that a member might want to go hunt with, or do we want to put a turkey stand up? So it's always a decision. You know,
we need at least one jerky stand every 6 booths. Otherwise, I can barely make it through. You know, it's funny because coffee is the big thing in the gun side, and you go to these shows, it's the jerky, the popcorn, the snack, the field snacks, as I like to put it, crush it in those spaces. What are some of the brands that when you walk around the show that they're always kind of surprising you? They're always so innovative. They're always doing such cool stuff. I've had Aaron Davidson from Gunworks on, phenomenal. I always love what he does. You know, I look at some of the brands like Kuyu, some of the different, you know, there's always some that grab my eye that are always ratcheting it up a notch, and I feel like they're a cut above everybody else, kind of how SIG is in some ways at the gun shows. What brands do you look at and you're kind of like, geez, you know, I really like what they're doing and how they're doing it?
Well, you know, it's interesting because it changes every year from year to year. I mean, you look at all the different camo companies that are out there. They're coming out and they're having to outdo one another. And you're like, wow, I didn't even think that was possible. And they've come up with a new camo line or a new line that's for sheep hunters or goat hunters or deer hunters or duck hunters. You know, it's always cool to stay on top of things. And then you've got some of these specialty guns that are out there that they're making these long range guns or scopes and optics and things of that. It's just neat to go around and look and see, wow, this is incredible. You know, how did they come up with that, or how did they do that? You know, how can it apply to me? I've got more stuff that has been used one time. Of course, my wife reminds me of it often because it was just the coolest thing to have for that one hunt, and I'd never use it again. But you know what? I had to have it for that one hunt because it was the best thing going, and I think that's out there for anything. And it goes same thing for knives. You know, I love to go. I go through this phase. I'll go through this phase, and I'll go. You know, I'll get a dozen different type of knives, and I'm like, okay, I got plenty of knives now. Then I'll go through flashlight phase, and I've got, oh my gosh, I've got to do this flashlight. I'll have a new dozen different flashlights. Then it'll be shotguns, then it'll be rifles, then it'll be whatever. But you know, it goes through waves and phases with me, and what's the neatest and coolest based on what's happening.
We're all gadget geeks in this business, so otherwise we wouldn't be in it. So we're all gadget geeks, but it's funny you bring up the knives. So when I was at the show moseying around, I don't know what I did with their card. I had their card, but there was a company. Here it is. I think it's Bartolo Antler Knives. I walked by their booth. I took a card. I mean, they had a knife for everything. I was like, somehow I talked myself into needing them all.
Yeah.
You know, and you're right. And that's kind of how it goes. You're convinced, you know, but soft goods, it's funny you bring up soft goods because I've said over and over again, people say all the time, well, you know, nothing's changed in the AR game. Nothing's changed in the gun game. And I agree with them. I actually tend to agree with them. There's not been a lot of innovation. There's been a lot of growth in machining capabilities, but soft goods is a space that's grown exponentially over the years in both the tactical market and hunting market. I mean, you can get, you know, temperature controlled socks at this point. You know, I mean, you could get everything. I mean, soft goods has grown exponentially. Everything's moisture wickering, everything's antimicrobial, everything's non-scented, everything. They're doing so much. I mean, the last 15 years, the soft goods market has grown leaps and bounds. And that's what I try to explain to people. Even in the bag space, there's a bag for everything now. Before you kind of had to make do. But soft goods is one. It's funny you bring them up because they have exponentially. It's, to me, the growth there. And it's overlooked at times. It's often overlooked. Before, we had like one kind of camo, and it was like, good luck.
Yeah, well, I mean, think about our grandparents. They sat on a log wearing blue jeans or jeans, Carhartt jeans or whatever, with the black and red plaid shirt. And all of a sudden, you know, they were killing animals left and right. And now we have to have the most newfangled thing, whether it's camo or scent controlled stuff, this, that, and the other. I mean, it's just amazing. I mean, at the convention, I was walking past Bench-Made Knives, and they had their engraver out there, and they were engraving your knives on everything. And I play golf a lot, so I've got my initials on my golf ball. And I'm like, why do I want my initials on my golf ball? That all it's going to be found is in the pond or in the creek or in the woods. But for some reason, I like having my initials or name on something. So, of course, you have to get a knife with your name on it, which, you know, kind of go from there. But soft goods, whether it's backpacks or whatever, made huge strides in the last couple of years. And some of it's very good. I mean, the backpack industry has been great for getting us what we need, where we need, in a very economical way.
Yeah, that's the space to me that comes to mind is when people say, like, where have you seen the most innovation? Sometimes I'll tell people ammo because the advancements in primers, powder, the refinement. And I said that's not, you know, a sexy answer, but, you know, I try to explain to people you have to understand that's come a long way. But really soft goods, if I was picking one space, you know, that is overlooked, soft goods has come a long way. It just the last 15 years, it's been phenomenal to see the growth and just having the opportunity to walk around your show and see a lot of the different companies. I mean, I know many of them and have friends there, even though it's not really my backyard, so to speak, in terms of industry. I see so many super cool products just coming on and having the opportunity to be there. You can see the passion in the stuff people are putting forward. Like Aaron Davidson's been on this show. And if you want to meet a passionate, smart guy that's doing some really cool stuff with the buying experience, I mean, Gunworks, my God, he's doing an amazing job over there. So I love seeing that stuff. And I walked his booth and I told him after, I said, I want to talk to you. And it went like down a rabbit hole of how seriously he takes the experience of buying one of his rifles is insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
And refreshing.
The good thing is I made a decision early on in my hunting career. I was going to only use 2 rifles, and I use a 7mm Magnum and a 3.75, and that's it. I've been on too many hunts where my hunting buddies brought their 300 and they had their 270 ammo, and we were in the hinterlands, and you couldn't find some of this wild offshoot ammo out there, but you can pretty much find 7mm Magnum and 3.75 ammo no matter where you are around the world. And that's kind of what I've stuck with, and use Leopold scopes, and that way I know what they do and how they go about doing it. I'm just kind of a creature of habit like that, and that way I get to know everything and what all is involved, and kind of what I stick with.
Yeah. It's been fun. I mean, listen, to anyone listening, if you don't get the opportunity or you have the opportunity, you got to check out one of these shows or check out the website. As Laird said, there's tremendous opportunity. Listen, I know your time's valuable and I don't want to take too much of it. We've been going at it for an hour here. I appreciate everything that you're doing. And I love the show that you put on. I get to go there, as I said, selfishly as a spectator. So I know I don't have a lot of my brands that I've worked with or are working with there. I get to kind of stroll around and just kind of hang out and get to talk to people and meet people. Even though I do have a couple of brands there, my obligations are low, so I enjoy that. It's a lot of fun, and being able to just meet the people and spend some time with them. And you're right. There's such a cool, eclectic group of folks that just are kind of bopping around that you might bump into in one of the hallways. You got to be excited that it's coming back to Vegas. Now, I know we're going to have no shows this year. I'll burst everybody's bubble. There's going to be no shows this year, but I'm sure next year as things kind of start, SHOT Show will kick it off. We'll get back to work. We'll get back to business. It's going to open up a lot of doors. So,
well, it's interesting. It's interesting, John. We're actually ahead of where we were the last couple of years with our booth reservations. So I think it's going to be the outfitters and all those team members will be there selling their wares. So that'll be very interesting to see. It's going to be a good show, and we're going to even have a better one the year after. So it'll be back-to-back great shows. But yeah. We were thinking the same thing, but we're very surprised at the number of pre-bookings that we've already got with deposits and everything else. So it's not like they're not booking it without deposits. I mean, this is people that are putting money on the barrelhead and saying, I'm in. I'll be there next year.
I'm not shocked, Laird, that next year it'll be busy, because I said this to a buddy of mine. He goes, you think SHOT Show will be good? I said, I think it'll be amazing. I said, you have to remember that there's about 10,000 people at SHOT Show that shouldn't be there. I said, and he laughed just like you did. And I said, think about it this way. You'll actually be able to get business done. There'll be less kind of hanger-oners. You're in Vegas next year, for the show, and you do Dallas, but you'll be in Vegas next year, not in Reno. So automatically you'll get good traffic, for the most part. I think absolutely next year it'll be big. Now the environment will be different. People probably be wearing masks. There'll be a lot of sanitation stations, things like that. But I think by and large, the new normal will set in by then, and for the most part, we'll be fine. And, it's just a matter of adjusting. I think people just got to get used to getting their temperature taken a little bit. And I don't think people should be going to shows sick. I'm okay with saying that. Like, listen, if you have a temperature and you're not feeling good or whatever, every year we all get sick. You, me, everybody, when we go to these shows, because we go to 10 of them a year. Right. I was talking about this with someone, and we go to a million of them. Nobody leaves SHOT Show not sick. You feel like you're going to die after. We call it the SHOT Show AIDS. You leave there and you can't move. It's the same thing. SCI wasn't too bad. I had a little bit of a headache. I was a little kind of run down because you're constantly using Purell. You're constantly touching. That's just, you're in that environment,
We call it the convention crud.
Yeah, the convention crud. You're inside all day. But that's more, it happens to us. And it's because we're on the floor so long. For the average person just kind of walking through and spending a day there, you're not going to get Trust me, it's not that kind of deal. We're there all week, breathing recycled air. It's miserable. But we're there to work, and that's a different animal, for the most part. So, I try to explain that to folks that don't understand, you'll be fine. But SHOT Show, there's too much traffic there now. And I know the NSSF doesn't necessarily not want to hear that. They've been cracking down on the badges, but it's been out of control, with the amount of people that in the past, like you go back 3 years ago, that show, you couldn't even walk in it. And half the people are there just to mosey around, and you couldn't get any business done because everybody's there to BS.
Yep, you're 100% correct. So I look forward to seeing you there, but thanks for having me on.
Yeah,
I really appreciate it. And
I appreciate it. I want to thank you and thank everybody at SCI. You got a great team, a great crew. I'm looking forward to what 2021 and 2020 brings for you.
Yep, we're getting the right people in the right seat on the right bus heading in the right direction, as they say.
All right, sir. I appreciate you, and I can't thank you enough. Give my best to everybody over there, and let Chip know when I see him, I'm cutting his hair off.
I will do. Take care.
All right, I'll see you.
See ya.
We're out.